We're live. That's right. We can go like total red light there, right? We can do that. Juan, what's up, man? Do that. Do that. Big Kev, Daniel Adami. Now make sure we say Daniel Adami's name. Juan Avalos, Trucker Rudy, what's up? Jason Perry. Next Gen. TJ Jones. Put some glasses on. Oh, we're having some fun tonight, aren't we? Fred G, new subscriber, and I like what you're saying. Thank you, Ralph. Just check and see what you're up to. I am up to no good. I don't know, man. I was talking to a friend of mine earlier, and he said that he said I sounded kind of down. I was talking to a wife earlier, and I guess I kind of am a little bit. Really, no particular reason other than I don't know, not making good use of my time. So I thought, why not, man? We'll go live, shoot the poop, and we'll see what's going on in the world of trucking today. Pale Rider, what's up? James G, how you doing? Clyde, how's it going? Trucker Rudy, TJ, I'm already repeating myself. Trucker's Table, what's up, Snarling? Trucker's Table, I've been enjoying your channel. I like to see positive channels there. I've heard good things about that new Landstar yard. I never got there. The only Landstar yard I ever got to was the old one. But you're right, that is a safer place to stay than the other places in Laredo. So kudos to you on your channel and building it and all that. You get like that too, Trucker Rudy? Trucker Rudy, you had commented that I inspired you on the health stuff. How's that going? I hope that's going well. There's a person on here, if he wants to name himself, he can, that I've been kind of helping out, and he's already lost quite a bit of weight. So kudos to him. If you want to reveal yourself, you can. You did beat Daniel. You enjoy the coffee talk. I'm glad you guys are liking that. I was talking to a friend of mine. I talk to a lot of friends. I'm very blessed to have a lot of friends. I think every YouTuber goes through you got to have something out. I'm going to put out a video every week, or I'm going to put out a video every 2 days, or if you give yourself a schedule, sometimes it's hard to keep that schedule because life just happens. You might not be in the truck for 2 weeks. You might have a lot going on personally, and so I didn't want to sit there and say the morning coffee thought would be an everyday thing. It's going to be a series. I need to make it into a playlist so you can just watch them if you want. It's a little narcissistic, but I do have these thoughts, and it's just like posting on Facebook, but out on video form, I think. But I'm glad you guys are enjoying them. I'm getting a lot of positive responses from them, and I appreciate that. It's about time I did something right on YouTube. This thing has been neglected. That's probably what I should have done today. Is see what's on the GoPro. I got a right way video that's on that thing that I should probably deal with, but no Crazy Joe C video yet. No, and luckily I'm off his radar, so I have no issues with Jay Canal. Steve Berger, what's up? Jonathan Houston. Big Houston has started his channel. He started doing some vlogging, trucking stuff, so check him out. Anthony T, I'm glad he survived the tornado outbreak of 2019. You'll be stopping at the Petron Raffine. Well, you might want to look at Life 360 because I think one of our group is there. I got to the house this afternoon and got to have dinner and spend some time with my wife and fur babies back in the truck, getting ready to head to Miami. Trucker's Table, how is the freight coming out of Miami for Landstar? Is it any good? Miami's kind of rough to begin with, but maybe Landstar's got some contracts down there that would help. Trucker, any good luck on your health, man? Snarler has helped me a lot. I feel great dropping the weight one day at a time. Yeah, you know, if I can inspire somebody, that's cool. Next Gen is sub. Thank you, Next Gen. Next Gen's a good dude. I meant to call you today. I forgot Next Gen. I hope you don't hold that against me. I get very forgetful of who I need to call back, and you know, a lot of times I'm on the phone with Harold and Roscoe, and we're talking everything, you know, like mainly business stuff, you know, and we razz each other. Mainly our three-way calls is me listening to Harold and James argue over stuff. It's funny. You know, and anybody who's hung out with James and Harold together in the same room, you know what I'm talking about. Well, it's like that on the phone as well. Are the melons shipping out of Florida? I think they are, James. So if you got a vented trailer, you're good to go. You smoke people smoke cigars and beer, is that okay? Well, and I don't judge, man. You know, I'm not against having a beer. Definitely not a cigar guy, but, you know, to each his own, man. I'm a live and let live person. See, that's the thing, man. I'm a live and let live person. I don't want people bothering me, so I don't bother them. There's a lot of things that are none of your business, you know, when it comes to what you put out there in social media and all that, and you know, and so I don't judge, man. So have at it. Potato Loads just north there. Last time I was down in Florida, not the last time, but one of the times I was in Florida, I picked up sugar out of the Everglades. That was an adventure. I did not like that at all. I have no idea what it paid because it was a brokered load that my company had put me on. Clyde, you saw Roscoe's truck today? TJ, I agree with you. Potatoes are messy. I had a friend of mine that was running what do you call it? Yard jockey. And Swift had brought in a trailer that obviously had potatoes because they were all like frozen. It was cold and they were all frozen to the floor, and it was just like a mess. They rejected the trailer. Pale Rider. Pale Rider was talking to me on Zello. Pale Rider says Snowlord told me to shut up. You know, if you're new to the YouTube universe and you're putting out videos, right? Sometimes the title can make or break the video. That's why you see all these bigger YouTubers naming their videos after names of trucks, or you know, something of 18-wheeler or big rig CDL holder, you know, that kind of stuff, right? Because some of my more informative, if you want to call it, live feeds have had stupid titles, because sometimes the live feeds just kind of do their thing, right? and it'll go in a direction that we didn't expect. So sometimes I'll throw out some nuggets of knowledge, you know, not that I have many, and the title will be really stupid. So it's like, well, do I change the title, or where it's more relevant, and how you title a video is really important. Looks like this Western Express is backing next to me in a very skillful manner. That makes me happy. I did not know that Western Flyer. Daniel, did you know that they have a pneumatic tank division? It's like a big hooded truck and everything. But so titling your video is important. So when I titled the video "Shut Up," essentially there was a message there. People are like, oh, was there a message? Were you telling people to shut up? Were you telling the drama YouTubers to shut up? No. Sometimes you just gotta like shut yourself up and just enjoy the moment. It was really quiet where I was at. You could hear the birds, you could hear the rain. A very nice, serene moment. And that's what I was getting at. I wasn't telling anybody to shut up. Now, if you felt that I was telling you to shut up, maybe there's something hidden inside you that feels guilty for talking. So, Alan Bequette, what's up? You are getting in late. Also, there was a couple loads picking up in Tampa going north. I got a load going to Asheville, North Carolina. Well, that's good. Hanging out in Salt Lake City is Jason. Still waiting on Daniel's vlog. Yep. I don't do the potato carrot loads. The waste of time loading and unloading is ridiculous. Also, they're messy. Yeah, I don't blame you. There, when you own your trailer like I do, it's good to, and I'm pretty selective of what I put in it. I've never done a load that had to nail stuff to the trailer. I've avoided stuff like mulch. I haven't done any rolled paper, like the big, where it's like 5 rolls that weighs 45,000. I haven't done any of those. I'm kind of selective what I put in the trailer because I want it to, I don't know. There are some loads that are harder on others than others that are harder on the trailer. Wow, I just made absolutely no sense. Some loads are harder on the trailer than others. Now, when I was at Landstar, I used to do the shopping cart loads, which they boarded them in like at 4 points. And the only way you get those boards up is with the forklift, and that would just tear the crap out of the floors. Then at Schneider, I found myself pulling nails out of trailers all the time. I have this really big long crowbar that I use for pulling nails out. And after a while, man, that stuff takes its toll, When I first bought the trailer, it was nice and pristine. Now the floor looks like, 5-year-old Schneider trailer. There you go, Steve Burger. I want to make a Schneider pumpkin trucking from pie to seeds. There you go. I enjoy getting up early, sitting on the porch with a cup of coffee and just listen. Fred G, that's cool. There's where my in-laws live, it's nice and quiet. There's no traffic. It seems like I'm always within earshot of traffic, whether it's out here on the road or at home. At home, we live next to a major artery. There's always traffic in the background, so I always like going to my in-laws because a lot of times it's so quiet out there. There's not the sound of a car, but I do also enjoy the sitting on the porch with the wife, drinking a cup of coffee, not having a cell phone in the hand, and just kind of enjoying each other's company and just kind of chilling out. it could be a point of meditation. You know, Russ Maynard talked about it on Facebook one time about, you know, morning coffee was his conversation with God, you know. And I thought, you know, it's a good idea to have, you know, not that, you know, it's a good idea to have a moment of it's almost like meditation in a way. And I tend to have some deeper thoughts either while I'm sitting there drinking my coffee or while taking a shower. You know, everybody has that $1,000,000 idea in the shower. And I think that, I don't know, I think my mind is more awake. I'm a morning person. I'm the annoying morning person. My brain is ready to go. Ready to go. So like, for example, when the band was writing a song, I would do the morning test. You know, one of my favorite times to listen to music in the morning before I was truck driver was on the way to work. So whatever music we were working on, I had to give it the morning test, you know, and if it passed the morning test, you know, listening to it in the morning, it was very motivating or very driving or very, I don't know, it just felt right, you know. That was, and I still do that in a way. So, you know, back when I was a kid riding bike to school, man, I had my Walkman on. I've got that morning music, so I've always been a morning gung ho person. You know, and I get paired with people that are like, oh God, shut up, you know, and I'm like, I'm ready to go. Did you ever find the bullet hole? What bullet hole? In my trailer? Yeah. I don't do post-consumer recycled material. James G., you are absolutely correct. I hauled a load of post-consumer plastic that was going to a dump in Ohio. It was 20 degrees. They put it in hot. So can you guess what happened to it? It was a plate trailer too. So that stuff stuck to the sides of the trailer. And if you want to know what parts of the plastic bottle or plastic lids or plastic stuff that does not recycle well, I can tell you because I spent an hour and a half scraping that crap off the walls and it stinks. Post-consumer recyclables, no bueno. And I avoid metal as much as I can because recycled metal, because that stuff tears up your tire, tears up your trailer. A lot of times it gets rejected. And you're responsible for taking it back at the cost sometimes. Your porch is a round aluminum step. Yeah, I hear you, Trucker Rudy, about the birds. Burger, I would love to hang out at your house, man. Sit there, have coffee, you know, outside. You don't hear a thing, and then we'll make ourselves deaf with the guitars, right? Serenity now. Light bright, what's up? If you don't mind me asking, what was your deciding factor in leaving Landstar? Money, restraints, rules, regulations? Okay, table, we'll talk about that. There's a Landstar truck passing right in front of me as we're talking about this. At a certain point, I was one of only 2 guys that were doing vlogs about Landstar. That's how I developed my channel for the first part. And I'll get to the rest of the comments here in a second. And Landstar was a learning curve. So I was learning how to self-dispatch. I was learning how to run a truck, you know, and I was flying by the seat of my pants. I didn't track my numbers. I didn't do it right? But then we had the cabs class, and that was so eye-opening. It was like Landstar showed you how to, all the tools that they have, and they do have a lot of good tools. But the problem I had was finding loads, because every agent that I developed a relationship with would lose their loads to other 3PL agents that were undercutting them. I made relationships with different agents that had direct freight, but getting to them was a challenge. I had trouble running a business a little bit. Um, then Jeffrey Like started to reach out to me. He saw that I was struggling at Landstar, and so he reached out to me. And if you go to Jeffrey Like's channel, type in Jeffrey Like Schneider versus Landstar, and he basically gave me the 3-hour version of that video. We talked for 3 hours, and he used to be at Landstar, so he's a perfect. You got these guys that do the comparison to 2 different company videos that have no idea because they weren't at the other company. They've only been at one. Like there was a guy that did a KLLM, Schneider versus Landstar, like a 3-way thing. And the guy had never worked for Landstar, never worked for Schneider. So how can you compare all 3 companies? But anyways, what I found was Schneider was a better fit for me because it had consistency and I didn't have the issues with the agents. See, the problem that I had with Landstar was the multiple postings where there's a load posted 10 times and it's just one load. And how difficult it made to book that load. So I would spend all day on the computer trying to book a load, and every agent I called, well, let me check. 15 minutes later, no, we don't have it. Or 15 minutes later, didn't get the Raycon, oh, they don't have it. And I was getting really frustrated with what I call the pajama agents, the agents that basically stay at home and just grab stuff off the DAT board or ITS and then post it themselves and hope that they could still get the load, right? So I talked to my BCO field advisor, which he was a really good dude. We got along really well. He worked out of the Indy yard. I was always in and out of the Indy yard. Every time I went into orientation, people would say, hey, they recognized me. I was becoming kind of popular in the Landstar world. And I told him my concerns about what was going on with Landstar, with the multiple postings and how they made it difficult. Like when your BCO advisor tells you not to do a drop and hook on the delivery side in Laredo, well, they know there's a problem, but they can't solve that problem. And to me, that it just wasn't a good fit after a while. And after talking with Jeffrey and realizing the differences and similarities, Schneider was a better fit. And it was always funny because I'd run into these guys at the Schneider yards like, you used to be a Landstar, why are you over here? And the thing that really, what I really needed at that time was consistency. For me at Landstar, it was feast or famine. 1 month I would be doing really good, and then the next month it was like pulling teeth. And then when the rates started to drop in 2015, wow, they dropped really bad at Landstar. And so Jeff showed me his quarterly numbers and how consistent they were, whereas most everybody else, they'd have a really good quarter and a really bad quarter. So I ended up going to Schneider, and I jumped ship early. And there was a lot of my Landstar coworkers that wanted to come to Schneider but couldn't because their trucks were too old at that time. Or at some point, Schneider, to protect their own, did a hiring freeze, whereas Landstar their goal was to be up to 10,000 trucks or 10,000 BCOs, and whereas Schneider's like, we've only got enough capacity to handle this many, so we're not hiring after this many, depending on what the contracts are doing and all that. So what I liked about Schneider is it was easier to book ahead. It was more consistent. Drop and hook was like at 75%, which means you can make money on the weekends if you were running, and it was just an overall better fit. And Jeff was right. So I did a year and a half at Landstar, and I did 2 years at Schneider, and I was definitely way more successful at Schneider because of the consistency. Now, does Landstar have better rates? Yeah. Is there more opportunity at Landstar? Depends on what you want to do. You can go flatbed, you can go heavy haul. The for me, in my opinion, the way to make money at Landstar is with your own trailer, with a logistics dry van trailer where you got ramps, blankets, toolbox, where you can do the high dollar trade show freight. And you got to get in good with the agents to do that stuff. That's where the money is. That's where Tim Gorley made his money. You know, Life is Good. If you watch his channel, look at his original trailer. That's where the money. Oh, and refrigerated pharmaceuticals or refrigerated hazmat. That's where the money is at Landstar, and you don't have that at Schneider. So there are pros and cons of each company, but for me personally, Schneider was a better fit. Trucker Rudy, have a good night. Cajun Trucker, love the morning coffee. Awesome. I'm glad that's going, man. That motivates me. Kevin and Ollie, what's up? Thomas Wilson, how's it going? Rican Trucker, we're about all moved in. Got to have you and the Mrs. Solar over soon. Definitely, Kevin, definitely. I've been told my back deck is an excellent morning coffee spot. Awesome. Midnight Rider, Landstar was a learning experience. You have moved forward, not back, begging for your spot back. Right, Midnight Rider. And a friend of mine asked me if I had to choose between going back to Landstar or going back to Schneider, between those two, that was my only thing I could do. That would be a hard decision because I have my own trailer now. Whereas when I was at Landstar, I didn't. And you get a higher percentage that way. And I would know how to run their system a lot better now with the things that I know now. So it's a toss-up. But Schneider, it's kind of like the difference between spot market freight and contract freight. Contract's more steady, and at times it could be lower, at times it could be higher, whereas Landstar was up and down, up and down. And there's a lot of things that if I had to go back to Landstar right now, I would do a lot different and a lot better. I have learned a lot. Still need to learn a lot more. All right, Burger, have a good night. We finally reached 10,000 trucks. Little Line Coast, what's up? Pale Rider is a legend, Paul. He is. But so that was that. So I think when I first went to Schneider, I was very anti-Landstar because I just jumped into making money, whereas the last load I did for Landstar, I was delivering in New Braunfels, and it was the Christmas rush. It should have been the Christmas rush, and I was looking at stuff that was paying $1.30 before Landstar's cut coming out of Laredo, and I had just already had orientation set for Schneider, and I just had enough. I just put the truck in gear and went home. Took a month off, and worked 3 weeks at Schneider in a row. Didn't go home. Actually, no, I did see the house, but I didn't go home for 34 or nothing like that. And I was caught up. The month that I lost at Landstar, I made up in 3 weeks at Schneider, and it was easy. I mean, if you've never self-dispatched before, Schneider's a good start. And then if you want to move on to the broker kind of model, that's where Landstar comes in. But like I said, there's a lot of opportunity at Landstar if you want to diversify. And Schneider is just hauling. Let's just haul some dry van freight and drop and hook, and as long as you got a good trailer, they pay you to go get it. They pay you to drop it. They pay you to pick it up. You get paid after you do the check call, whereas your check call creates the statement, whereas Landstar, you got to transflow everything to get paid, whereas Schneider, transflow when you can, not a big deal. There's just like I said, go watch Jeff's Landstar versus Snyder video, and you could see the differences. And like I said, when I believe when Jeff was at Landstar, he was doing the dry van logistics type stuff. And eventually I want to get ramps for the trailer. Eventually I want to get toolboxes on the side so I can get into that stuff, because I know that there's good money in that. And if I can get some good ramps, because, you can do, there's more opportunity there. If I find, and that's one of the beauties of buying a trailer. I didn't buy a trailer just come over like trucking. I bought it as an investment to diversify if I wanted to. And while if I ever went back to Snyder, I can't take that trailer to Snyder, but at Landstar I could. So, who knows? But I did let my hazmat lapse, so I'd have it back if I ever went back. But I don't plan on going back, because there are a lot of companies out here that are paying well above 65 or 73 or 72%. But I don't see myself leaving like trucking anytime soon. Knock on wood. Because I have absolutely no complaints about how things are handled here. So. It smells like cow poop in Virginia. Well, I'm looking at getting my own trailer next year, especially trailer with gate belly boxes. Yeah, the lift gate would be really good. I think the key is finding the agents that have that freight. I ran into a couple that have got one of them big ARI sleepers, and they do nothing but ESPN. So they do the at that time ESPN was the one with NASCAR, so they were doing NASCAR one part of the year and then Monday Night Football the next part of the year. So they weren't seeing home time, but they were a married couple with the ARI sleeper, so they didn't need any home time, so they were perfect. And they had a high dollar setup, truck and trailer. Their trailer was probably worth more than my truck is. Too much micromanagement, says Thomas Wilson. Well, let me talk about that. Seeing that you've never been at Snyder, Thomas Wilson, what aspects do you think that they're micromanaging? And I hear that complaint a lot. The only two things that bothered me about Snyder was the drive around the block test, and that, they're kind of watching you on the hard brakes and stuff like that. And if you're an SFI guy, they have to approve where you get your truck repaired or maintained and all that stuff. But beyond that, I never had to call my BCO, or not BCO, BOA, whatever they call them now. I never had to call. Unless I didn't have a pickup number or a load got canceled, then I had to get rid of the rest of them. But here's the thing. If you don't micromanage yourself, then work with a company that does it for you. Take Kevin, for example. He's over there at Prime. Prime gives you P&L statements. They tell you how you're doing on your fuel. They tell you how you can work more efficiently. They're watching you on this. They're watching you on that. And they're giving you information that helps your business. And, like, for example, okay, so the other thing that a lot of people don't like about Snyder is the no cell phone rule, right? There are other companies, like JB Hunt, I think, does it too, where you sign a thing saying that you will not be on your cell phone, hands-free or not. And that's a liability thing. So if you get in an accident and the phone was something to do with it, guess what? Snyder can sit there and say, we made him sign a thing that he would not be on his phone, so we're off the hook. Good luck, right? That's why they do that. They know that people break that rule. And as long as you're not idiotic enough to have your headset on when you're going through the gate, which people have been, and they still don't yell at them, but it is a liability issue. They both have, Snyder and Landstar both have a sitting duck rule. If you are on the shoulder and you know you're going to be in there more than 5 minutes, you better be putting your triangles up. Landstar Landstar and Snyder, if you have a hazmat load, you got to call in. They got to micromanage how you're putting that all together. These companies micromanage for a reason. Jeff's had to implement a couple of rules for us, as he's learned and progressed about how to run a fleet. And so to some degree, if you're like, let's say you're an independent by yourself, your own authority, if you're not micromanaging yourself, then there's a lot of room for error, and those errors can cost you your business. So are there aspects of Snyder that made you feel like a company driver at times? Yeah, but Landstar had that too. And if you're a team player and those rules don't affect your revenue, then go for it. I don't see what the problem is. Why not just drive for Walmart? Because not everybody can get on with Walmart, and you have to live within 150-mile radiuses, something like that. So, Red Rum Trucker, what's up? Easy and Sons, how's it going? I missed a good load the other day coming out of Fort Lauderdale, paying $4 a mile gross, but you needed 50 blankets. Yeah, see, there you go. That proves my point there. Lisa, what's up? Everybody's liking the coffee thoughts. Thank you very much. On one of your videos, you talked about a CD that you listened to in your truck. Yes, that was Positive Energy by Dr. Orloff. Lisa's with Prime. She's doing well at Prime. Fred G, what's up? Pamela B, hi. Ralph's Trucking. Triangles to call safety. Yeah, they Landstar, they tell you you better be on the phone calling Landstar as you're putting your triangles on. They got Ashley Furniture, don't do hazmat. Yeah, we can't haul hazmat here. So I didn't see the point in having it anymore. If I ever had to go back company, I might grab it. If I ever had to go back to Landstar, I might grab it. But Snyder, Snyder, you can haul hazmat, but it never really paid better, which I didn't understand that, because my moneymaker at Landstar was empty hazmat totes. Those paid really well, and fireworks. Fireworks, those loads pay. Grab a water. Water is very important. Scott, what's up? And and in some ways it's kind of a miracle I'm still here, because I did not micromanage myself. I was flying by the seat of my pants and hoping for the best. And what I have found consistently is the people that track their numbers, the people that manage themselves and don't just wing it, those people tend to do a lot better out here. Every owner-operator that I see that's successful out here, the one common denominator is that they love dealing with the numbers. Like Scott, SRO, he's a smart dude. He's a Snyder IC that got his own authority, and started with the SFI truck, got his own truck, and now he's got his own authority, and he does well, man. He does really well. He gives me a lot of advice, and he tells me what I could look at and what I could do better, and some of the things that I'm actually doing right. Oh, my battery's dying. Let's fix that, shall we? I think my battery's going bad on this phone. But it's all, I think one of the most important things you could do as an owner operator is the willingness to learn. Not just the owner operator, but as a company driver too. Be willing to learn. Be open-minded to what drivers that are further along in life, be open-minded to what they're telling you. Because if they're doing something right and they could show you how to do something right, then why negate that? And it's a constant learning. And I think that sometimes I get a little bit down because sometimes your brain just hurts, right? Sometimes you just don't want to think about it. I plan on taking a week's vacation in June. And I love trucking. I love my truck. I love what I do. But it'll be nice to not have to think about numbers, not have to think about the truck, and recharge the batteries. Where I'm not at home worrying about catching up my, dealing with the bills, or, still got to deal with my tax stuff, that kind of thing. It's been a long time since I've jammed. The band hasn't practiced in a while. I need to get back to that. Just something, it's important to have hobbies. It's important to have things outside of trucking. You could be a born diesel-blooded, truck fiend, but every now and then, man, you got to step out. Don't burn yourself out. How many of these guys out here that have been out here 25, 30 years are burned out? That's because they're trying to run 3,000 miles a week every week for the last 20 years. That's going to burn anybody out. It's not healthy to do that. You got to have healthy you time that has nothing to do with this steering wheel. You're making great money being a company driver. Well, that's cool. There's this weird impression that being an owner operator, you're suddenly going to be thrust into a lot of money. I ran into it a lot at Schneider. A lot of Schneider guys are like, wait a minute, this one load is paying you $800? Wow. Yeah, but it's like $200 in fuel, and and I've got a $2,000 a month truck payment. Really? You made $800 on that load? There's blinders on, right? And while there is opportunity to make more money than a company driver, there's also, well, Steve, you're out here for the freedom then, right? Yeah, but instead of a slave to the company or to a dispatcher, you're a slave to the truck. You're a slave to your costs. So if you have a lot of costs at home, or if you have a high truck payment, you got to work regardless, whether you want to or not. So how is that any different? What I like is that the harder I work, the more it rewards. Now, as a company driver, you can do that too, but you're still at the whim of a dispatcher. You're still making somebody else rich. You either work for the man or you are the man. And there's some really good truck drivers out here that have no desire to be an owner operator, and that's fine. I mean, up until a year before I did this, I had no intentions of ever becoming an owner operator because of the struggles I saw my dad go through. If my dad was alive today, he'd be beating my butt. But I also have a lot of tools and a lot of knowledge that he did not have, so he struggled more than I do. You know, and it's through struggle we become stronger. So I like being my own boss. Whether it's, eventually I want to get out of the truck and have a brick and mortar store, or have, a restaurant or a bar or something like that. That's kind of the end game, is to be my own boss in some capacity or another. If someone wrote me a check for, a large sum of money, and I could create a business with that, I would do it. But for now, this is all I know. I mean, yeah, I was a good welder, but I'm not going to start up a welding company or nothing. So this is it. I've been told by someone I overanalyze everything. After a long conversation, they usually are asking questions on how to do things a little different. I've never self-dispatched, but I think like trucking would be the right place to learn. Cajun Trucker, yeah, it's we definitely help each other out. I was on a 4-way call with Jeff, other Jeff, Roscoe, and Harold. So yeah, it was a 5-way call, and James was looking for loads, and Jeff was helping him out. We embrace the new guys and try to help them, but everybody here at Like Trucking worked at Schneider. So that helps, that everybody here has experience in self-dispatch. And as long as you know how to manage your time and not put yourself in a bad situation, self-dispatch, I'm not going to sit there and say it's easy, but it's not rocket science either. Some people have a natural knack for it, other people don't. So it just depends. If you're the kind of guy that needs to be told what to do, you'll just do it because you got good work ethic or whatever, that could be that. There's a lot of dispatch services out there. Jeff will help out with that, that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, part of the learning curve, the way to absorb the learning curve is to have money in the bank. So when you take a load to a dead-end area and lose revenue for the week, or something of that nature, or you figure out that you got to book ahead and not have 1 or 2 days between loads. Sound familiar, Steve? I'm talking to myself, by the way, not Berger. That's a learning. Make sure you got money in the bank to learn over those obstacles, because you're going to mess up. You're going to screw up. My first 3 months at Landstar, I felt like a rookie all over again. And then at Schneider, I did all right. But then when I came over here, I was back to being a rookie again, because sometimes I get complacent, and other times I like doing the same loads. So a lot of times, I'm going to have to bust out some chops, it took me almost a year to figure out that I need to book further ahead than I do, right? And there was one week where Harold didn't really dispatch me, but he was definitely helping me book loads. And next thing, some point I was like 4 loads ahead, and I said, okay, we're gonna chill, because I haven't looked at my hours, I haven't looked at where I'm going to be at. I don't even know where my next load assignment is, and I haven't, and at times it got like that at Schneider. I wrote everything down on a small whiteboard or on paper, and that way I wouldn't screw it up. But it but it takes a lot to learn. Like even if you go SFI and go to Snyder, they give you 2 free weeks before you have a truck payment, so you can learn and kind of figure stuff out. So, and that's the important part. Right now, I have no interest to get my own authority, more hassle and paperwork than I want to deal with. I hear you, Trucker Stable. I'm the same way. Buy a Chick-fil-A franchise. That's for Harold, James, not me. Do customers ask you about the name Like Trucking? Yes, little Viking coach. Well, we got that I logo, right? So there's been a few security guards that like, name your truck company is I Like Trucking. I'm like, no, it's just Like Trucking. and then you got the, do you really like trucking? I'm like, it's the dude's name. You know, thank you for your smart aleck comment. But yeah, we get that a few times. You can always buy one of those Swingin' Richards Club. LOL. I have no idea what you're talking about. Self-dispatch, just like everything else, you have to do it a lot to get better at it. It takes time and patience. You're absolutely right, Scott. Over 2 years ago, I was getting out of the truck. I broke ankle, ended up having leg amputated. Wow, Ralph. I never took care of my health. I have paid dearly for that. Wow, Ralph. I busted my ankle last year, so luckily it didn't get to that point. Harold could be the key to financial success. Harold, when Harold was first thinking about coming over here, I met him at GATS and we started talking on the phone. And he, of course, he was Snyder at the time, and I knew that he would be an asset to Like Trucking, and he's been one of our top earners because of how he thinks. He's helped me a lot. He helps James a lot. Roscoe, and his numbers are pretty good. So I knew that he would be an asset to Like Trucking. He's a smart dude. He lives, eats, and breathes. He's a diesel-blooded guy, and just loves being out here, and he knows how to make it work, and he's done pretty well. So we like being able to make our own decisions when we go home, proper equipment maintenance, choosing where we go, etc. But it's not easy. We're learning as we go. You're absolutely right, Pamela. And you can take all the coaching calls and YouTube videos and listen to all the people you want, but until you're in the trenches doing it, that's the only way you're going to learn. Come in as prepared as you can. And something else I'm going to talk about. Let's ruffle a few feathers here. Let's see if I got battery here. 16%. We're good. All right. There was a YouTuber that did a video about who's to blame on failure, okay? Yesterday I saw a truck, or no, day before yesterday. No, it was Saturday. Not important. Saturday. I was delivering a load, and the name of this company on this truck, they're out of Olathe, Kansas. If you can guess who it is. It's named after a popular car. Now, mind you, I know a few people from that particular company, and I know their practices. They will put a guy fresh out of CDL school who has absolutely no clue about even driving the truck, hand them the keys and a lease payment and tell him he's a business owner. And this particular gentleman could not back his truck into his dock. And after he eventually did, but once he did, he could not back his bobtail. You could definitely tell he was new, right? And I have nothing against new guys. We've all been there. But what this particular company will do is they will make that person a business owner. And to me, that's not right. So basically, if you fail out here, there is a point where sometimes the carrier has to have some kind of accountability to not put a person in a position that they shouldn't have been in, like this gentleman I saw in Arkansas. And that's the problem with some of the mega carriers that want to put a guy in a brand new truck with no money down, no credit, who has absolutely no business training whatsoever, and he's still learning to drive the truck, and say, and all of a sudden he's thrust into higher expenses than what I've dealt with. That is a recipe for disaster. That is a recipe for failure. And this guy who's fresh out of CDL school, who's been made all these promises, yes, there is a certain part of him that should have researched it, should have asked, should have ran the numbers, should have done this, should have done that, yes. But at the same time, shame on this carrier for putting this person in that position to do so. So there has to be some accountability. And when you're looking to research getting into being an owner op or a lease op, all you hear are similar stories of that nature. Of people that have tried and failed. I know people that were thrust into that situation within a year. Their trucking career was over because they've had it. They were done. There's no way that in the first 2 years that I was driving a truck that I would want to put myself in that kind of pressure. Because at that point, you're a company driver just paying all the bills. And you need to learn the industry. You need to learn how to drive the thing. And so the carrier has to have some accountability. You can't just put any person in any seat unless you I mean, it boggles my mind that you would give the keys to a person who has absolutely no clue what they're doing, the keys to a $180,000 vehicle, and say, there you go. That's like handing the burger flipper at McDonald's the keys to the restaurant and saying, now it's all yours. That's a little extreme analogy, but it's true. And if I was to put people in a lease purchase situation, I would want to create a situation that was a lot easier, like maybe a lower truck payment, or kind of like what Schneider, the Schneider's not a good example, like a lower truck payment, or kind of feel the person out, look at their job history. I would want to know a lot of things about this person before I would put them in a lease truck. And there's no way that I would put a guy fresh out of CDL school in a lease truck. Nada. To me, that doesn't make sense. But these big mega carriers that do that, or even the smaller carriers that do that, like a company like, say, like Schneider, they get the truck back. It's not a big deal. But a small carrier, it is a big deal because now you're making a truck payment without a driver. But there is a lot that falls on you. There is a lot that falls on you as an individual to run your business, to learn. You know, you have to have the initiative. You have to have the willingness to learn and absorb and work and, you know, and all that stuff. But at the same time, the carrier should not put a person in a situation that's next to impossible to accomplish. And when you take a person that's got a $500 a week payment versus a person that's got a $1,200 a week payment, and they're both new, they're both out of CL school, you know, the guy with the lower expenses, he's got a little bit of wiggle room. He's got a little bit of, you know, he's got a higher chance of succeeding. So there was a part of that YouTuber's video that I disagreed with on that respect, because sometimes the carrier has to be held accountable and not put a driver in that situation where the cards are stacked against you. And if you do put a driver where the cards are stacked that high, then you're going to want to mentor that person as much as you can. And if they're not willing to be mentored, then you know you've tried. You know, so there's got to be accountability on both sides, is what I'm saying. Now, somebody might disagree with me, you know, and trust me, I'm not a everybody deserves a trophy kind of person, but you definitely don't want to blame the carrier for all your problems, trust me. But at the same time, the carrier has to have some kind of accountability, whether it be screening, job screening, look at your history, or you're just too new, like this guy in Arkansas, to be doing this right now. If you own your truck, put 9% of gross each week. We'll save you. Yep. Yeah, I'll put the money aside. Right. Sounds like a Ford. Yep, they will scare you about what happens to you as a company driver to coax you into doing the lease. Well, Anthony T., that particular company you're talking about, what they do is they tell the company guys that the lease guys get the higher priority. And I know that to be true. I had a friend of mine that was over there, and he was never home and only got about 1,800 miles a week because he was always having to give his load to a lease operator. You know, and they kept doing that. And when I'm not doing the lease, they're like, well, you know, it's just going to get harder and harder for you. And it blows my mind how a company like that can stay in business. It blows my mind. You know, that at some point, accountability and business with morality has to kick in. Is that one of the Gandhi's 7 sins? Is business without morality? You know. I spent 4 years as a company driver before I became an owner-op. Yeah, James, I was 6 years for me. What do you think of the FMCSA said to expand pilot program for under 21 interstate truckers? I'm not a fan of that, really. I mean, because if you look at the way I drove when I was 21 versus the way I drive now, night and day. I don't know. I'm glad they're doing a pilot program before they figure it out, but I don't know. It does not make me comfortable. Nowadays, it seems like if you stay at a company for 6 months, you are considered a veteran at that company. That is true, Scott. There's a driver retention problem. Everybody has driver retention problems, right? Thomas Wilson never went to school. Well, how'd you learn? It absolves them of liability, right? Thomas, I didn't see any tornadic weather. It got windy last night. Um, it stormed a little bit this morning for me, but I managed to stay south of it. A lot of it was hitting Tulsa and Oklahoma City, and I was in Marietta last night. And then apparently I got out of Arkansas in time because I guess Clarksville got hit today. And I was just there the other day. I was just there on Sunday. And went through that whole stretch. I would have been right through it. So I've managed to kind of miss it. I hear you, Pamela. I drove them as a lease driver. They even allow you to take a load from a company driver if you're sitting and they're leaving the same ship with a load. Yeah, I definitely disagree. You know, everybody makes fun of Swift and Werner and all that, but there are way worse companies out there than them. I mean, I'm not saying Swift and Werner's a bad company. I mean, they get a bad rep, but you know, most successful Swift drivers I've talked to are pretty happy. You know, leasing's kind of a weird thing, man. I tell people with the SFI trucks and the people that, you know, like Kevin at Prime, you know, I tell them, I don't know, the way I live my life and the way I try to balance home time and money, I would definitely be behind the curve on being a lease operator. I don't think I could be a good lease operator. To me, to be a successful lease operator, you got to have your act together, especially if your expenses are pretty high. And I don't think I have that in me. I really don't. You know, that's why I don't go out and buy a new truck, because you know, the only way I get a new truck is if my payments were below $3,000 a month. And right now I don't have my money lined up to where I could have a big enough down payment to make a truck payment lower than $3,000 a month. Because why do you think lease companies do weekly payments? Because it's to keep you working. And I'm not going to say I'm lazy, but I determined that I didn't want to be a slave to the truck. In some ways, we're all slaves to these trucks to a certain degree. But I didn't want to put myself in a position that was high stress. You know, I failed at that too, because, you know, look at the weight gain I've acquired over the years. Go to my old channel from 2010. Look at my video of giving a tour of my new 660 I had at the company, and see how much weight I've gained. And a lot of that was gained when I was at Landstar because I was stressed out. Could I learn to adapt to a lease payment? Yeah. But you know, if you finance a truck for 6 years and the payments are above $3,100, $3,200, $3,500 a month, yeah, you'll have warranty and stuff like that, but I mean, at some point, you know, what if you bust your ankle? What if you bust your leg? What if you have an accident at home? What if a kid has to go to the hospital and you have to be home for 2 weeks? You know, what if there's a lot of what ifs that can happen in the span of 6 years? And to keep that payment would be relentless, you know? I don't know. I'm still learning. So maybe if I was better at managing my money, maybe if I was better at managing my business, then a $3,000 payment would not be a big deal. And to be a reality, really, is, you know, with the amount of repairs I've had to do to this truck this year so far, I'm at $2,700 a month. So, you know, what's the difference, right? With the Mexico Beach totally destroyed. Wow. Got two friends with SFI trucks, both just refinanced, both really happy they're not slaves to trucks anymore. FP trucking, that's the way to do it, man. You know, that's what Christian Trucker did. I believe that's what James G did. You know, getting that truck refinanced to lower your payments. You know, at the end of the day, it's all about numbers, right? And if you cut your costs as low as you possibly can, the more flexibility you have. That's the simplest way I can put it. The lower your costs, the more flexibility you have. When you have an $1,800 or $1,500 truck payment, there's no room for error. A week truck payment, there's no room for error. But when you have a $1,500 a month truck payment, now, okay, I had a day between these two loads. Okay, I need to learn how to book myself better. Hey, I need to learn this, or I need to learn that, or hey, I busted my ankle because I don't know how to walk. And it's easier to survive times like that. And not only that, but my truck notes, you know, only got 2 more years left. So the lower your costs, the easier it is to be an owner-operator or a lease op. That's the simplest way I can put it. And if you don't have a support system like SFI, you got Snyder. If you have a complete lemon of a truck, Snyder will put you in another truck. You know, if you have repairs that go beyond what's in your maintenance account, guess what? Snyder will cover it. Landstar will even do that. So there's an umbrella there, and you pay for that a little bit, right? There's a safety net there, and there's nothing wrong. Having a safety net is a smart thing to do. But in my situation, I got to create that safety net. So whether, you know, some people stack up the cash, other people, you know, can rely on credit cards. Some people do both. You know, but you got to at least have a line of credit or a lot of cash stashed away, because if you don't have the support of like the Primes and the Snyders, you know, so there's advantages and disadvantages to both. But my advantage that I enjoy is the flexibility. If we lived on what ifs, nobody, right, exactly. Can you make double payments every other month? Yeah, I mean, there are ways to get the payments down. I mean, but I would rather, instead of spending extra, like the extra 10 grand on a truck payment, I'd rather have that in the bank for when stuff goes down. Or if I have to spend a month, you know, because I busted my ankle, to have a couple of truck payments in the bank account. So they blew my code. It's all about the net, right? Switched my trailer from a lease to a loan and saved over $90 a month. Awesome. Michael N. My 3-year lease SFI is up in October, and I'm looking to refinance this truck. There you go, Michael N. And dude, when you do that, Michael, you're gonna feel this elation that you've never felt before. Hope you're doing well, by the way, with your new gig. A lot of guys just look at the number coming in and not the number going out. Exactly. You are absolutely right, Paul. Oh, it's just like the Snyder Company guys I'd run into. Wow, you made $4,000 this week? Yeah, I also spent $1,000. I also spent more money in fuel than you probably made take home. You know, that kind of thing. You know, they don't realize that, wow, you made $160,000 last year? Yeah, but I only took home 40, you know, that kind of thing. Well, that's not much more than a company driver. Right. So why are you an owner operator? There's got to be other reasons. And if you're barely making above a company driver, figure out why and fix it. And if you can't fix it, well, as long as it does for you what you want, you're golden. 425 weekly payments here, fuel 1600 plus, insurance, permits, stuff 350 weekly. You need to gross $6,000 a week. Going to a couple graduations, Anthony. Very good. But I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about, really. I'm kind of a moron. I've learned a lot of things the hard way. That's how it's been in life. You know, I'm the kid that, hey, don't touch that hot stove. Okay. You know, I'm that kid. I'm that guy. Hey, don't do that. You know, my friend Big Rig CEO, he's he was giving me crap one day because he calls me up. He goes, you know that big revelation epiphany that you just had? Yeah, I've been telling you that for 2 years. It annoys him. You know, I annoy a lot of people. I annoy my wife. Sometimes I'm not listening. I annoy my friends because sometimes I'm not listening. Or, I refuse to learn by their words, and I learn the hard way. Everything. I've learned everything the hard way. I learned how to weld the School of Hard Knocks. I didn't go to welding school. I had to, learn how to fix it myself. Guy gave me a couple of tips, and I did a little, it's before the YouTubes. So I had to kind of learn on my own, and nothing like building, 20 boats a day to make you learn how to weld, right? I feel sorry for some of the people that got the first boats, though. Just saying. What do you think about Traveloka doing zero deductions? Little Vine Coach, one of the reputations that Traveloka had in some of the circles that we had was their high expenses, right? For them to do that is awesome because that's the same system that we have here. And that makes it so easy. That simplifies it so much. I had a friend of mine show me, not from Traveloka, he was with another company, but he showed me his settlement, and I couldn't make heads or tails of any of it. Our settlements look like fuel, def, boom, there it is. Quarterly, there's your IFTA, and that's it. It's so simple. Our settlements are so easy to read. And if Traveloka does that, or I guess they are, kudos to them for that, because that is a great way to succeed, is to simplify. It makes it a lot easier to track your numbers and track what you're doing. And the more you can simplify, that's what Jeff has tried to create, is a simplified system, and he's done it. He streamlines everything on his end, and he's made it easier for us. Oh, down 15 pounds since you start keto. Awesome, Michael. You've learned a lot from me, Thomas. Daniel, maybe, right? Thomas Wilson's he's become a beach guy. Daniel, it was your settlements, and I could not make heads or tails of that thing. You could not make heads or tails of that thing. So if your company, you can't even read your own settlements, how are you supposed to be successful with that? That goes back to the guy in Arkansas that, can he read his settlements? Does he know what he's looking at? He can't even back a bobtail up. Trucking's one, there's a lot of people that go into business without any business training. And and the people that I know, I have a friend that owned some restaurants, a chain of them, right? And so he knew how to run numbers. Roscoe talks about his pet store. He knows how to run numbers. He knows how to run a business. And I think that's really good training. So if you're a business person that's learning how to drive a truck and then you want to become an operator, you're going to do a lot better than the kid that just came out of CDL school that's trying to better himself to get out of poverty or something, and then they tell him to be a business owner because he's had no education. Or the carrier can give you education. They could show you, they could kind of hold your hand for a minute. And then once you get the gist of it, then you could take off, right? Better have a good accounting service to get you through it. Yeah. Or a program. I'm all about the program. I don't use an accountant. I do it all myself. Of course, that's bit me in the butt because I'm behind on my taxes. So, had to file extension. But, one of the things I'm learning is that I've learned the hard way. I didn't work enough when the rates were good. Now that the rates are down, I'm having to work a little bit harder. So guess what? Less home time. So now things have, I've lost a little bit of balance. It's all about balance, man. Whether you're a company driver, owner operator, a welder, it's all about balancing career, family, and personal time. And the company I drove for as a company driver, I had it took a little bit of adjustments. There were times when I had too much home time, so I got, didn't have that great of checks, but then there were times when I had not enough home time and my family suffered a little bit. And there was a few times where I had the perfect balance. Well, I wouldn't say perfect, but a better balance, right? And, not to sound like Mr. Miyagi, but, balance is key to everything. What good is making all this money if your health goes to crap? And what good is it to make all this money if you've got no family to share it with? So if and I don't care if you love trucking or not, this job, you don't eat right, you don't sleep right, it's strange relationships. And so you have to adapt and learn to what works best for you. And that's hard to do. You've got all these channels, all these YouTube experts, right? That are going to tell you to do it one way or another way or another way. And that's literally impossible. CDL schools are only designed to get you your CDL, right? It is up to the carrier that you go to teach you how to become a truck driver. And you got companies that train you how to become a truck driver, and you got companies that will train you how to be their driver. Nobody else, right? So that there's not a one size fits all for trucking. There's not a series of books that you can go get at the library or get online or go to Amazon that will tell you specifically how to become a successful truck driver or a successful owner operator or lease operator, because there's 1,000 million ways to do it, and you've got several million people out here doing it differently than each other. What works for a flatbedder doesn't work for dry van. What works for a car hauler doesn't work for a reefer. What doesn't work for heavy haul doesn't work for a box truck. And you have levels of success. Okay, so if you didn't complete a lease, is that a success or failure? Well, it depends. If you go back to company after being an operator, is that success or failure? It depends on what you do. If you needed more home time, if you wanted to be home with your family, how is giving up a truck payment a failure? But at the same time, it could have gone the other way, but it just depends on what you want. If family and home time is more important, then you got to fix it to where the truck doesn't interfere with that. If you don't have family at home, if you want to live in the truck, then by all means, man, go to town. But you got to have that balance. But eventually, you got to get out of the truck. Eventually, even if you live in the truck, you got to get a hotel room every now and then. You got to get out of the truck. And if you live, eat, and breathe trucking, learn every aspect of the industry and how it can help you, and how it can, there's a million different ways to do this. And there are wrong ways and there are right ways. And the more people you talk to the people that have experience. Talk to the people that have done, like Jeffrey. He's done every kind of trucking that there's been. So he has experience and knowledge in different aspects. Like if you ask me questions about flatbed, I couldn't tell you because I've never done flatbed. I've a couple of friends are flatbedders, but you don't want to be that guy that's always saying, well, I got a friend that did this and a friend that did that, because that, well, no, I want to know firsthand whether or not how to get in the flatbed world, right? So if I wanted to become a flatbedder, I would do research. I would do, what can I do to, whatever. And people want information handed to them. People want to spend $40 and like not do any research, just tell me what I need to know. No, do the research. Dig in a little bit. If you truly want to succeed, you will research the areas that you need. If you're bad with numbers, research that. If you're bad with paperwork, hire somebody that can do that for you. If you're bad about dispatching, hire a dispatcher. Or work for a company that dispatches you, as long as you're not picky about where you go, that kind of thing. Do your research. And some people might look at me and say, Steve, you're a failure. You're driving a used truck. You're barely making it. You're a failure. But then there are people that would kill to have what I have. There are people that would love to be where I'm at. And so it's all perception. If you see somebody that you think is successful, or like, I want to be like that person. That person's got his act together. I want to be more like that person. Talk to them. Buy them a coffee. Friend them. And learn from them. Put your ego aside, and have a willingness to learn. There's a lot of people out here that don't have the willingness to learn, or they think they know it all. And they don't. I don't care who you are, you don't know it all. And that's just life in general. It has nothing to, it's not just trucking. Adam Gallery, you talk about the Prime scan, but I know people that are doing well at Prime. It's all perception. And, would I put myself in a position at Prime? No, but that's not because of something that they're doing. It's because I don't think I would do well in that environment. See, you got to look at your carrier as a partner. And for some people, Prime is doing very well for them. Some people do very well at Snyder. Some people do very well at Landstar. And that's how this video started. Trucker Stable is talking, you know, the differences between Landstar and Snyder, and you know, and Snyder was a better fit for me than Landstar. Now, nowadays it'd probably be the other way around because I have my own trailer and I've got more knowledge of calling brokers and staying booked ahead and that kind of thing. But Snyder just makes it easy. Yeah, 302 pounds. You know what old Joe's saying? I'm at 302 pounds now, down, trying to get to 250 or less by February, going on another cruise. Awesome, Michael. Remember when it was professional job? What are now? I'll agree to that. I think part of that professional attitude, and Jake Cannell touched on this one day. There's a lot of drivers out here that really aren't, they think they're out of poverty, but they're not. And when you got a guy that, you know, when you got a driver that is trying to truck him because there's nothing else that they can do. So I think a lot of that's education. You know, I mean, some of these CDL schools, they just want meat in the seat, and you know, they're not worried about professionalism. And so therefore there's not a culture created around professionalism. But I was a kid in the 80s, riding with my dad, you know, and drivers weren't viewed as professionals then either. Yeah, they wore jeans and boots and, you know, and had the whole, you know, America's Cowboy thing going on a lot of times. But, you know, when he went into New York City, it wasn't like that. You know, there were people that didn't shower. There were people that, you know, the truck was just a tool. And truckers were kind of viewed like in a negative light. You know, they were discriminated like bikers would be, you know, like there were places that we'd go and that we were looked at like we were Hell's Angels or something. I mean, there's a little bit of truth to the movie Convoy of how truck drivers are viewed and treated. And that's the thing. If you are watching this, like, I'm thinking about getting my CDL, know this, okay? You are going to be treated like a second-class citizen. So there's a lot of people out here that act the part and deserve to be treated like a second-class citizen. But it's like anything else. You can go to a restaurant, and this restaurant, you know, they're wearing their regular clothes, and they don't have uniforms, and you know, and you know, they're not as professional. And then you can go to another same restaurant from the same chain, you know, and everybody's professional and clean, and you know, so that's not just in trucking; it's in all aspects of life, you know. And the more you have your act together, the more you're healthier up here, the easier it is to be and look professional. And a lot of people just can't do that. You know, truck drivers we're the misfits of society. I mean, not all of us are great team players. That's why we want to be by ourselves in this box, right? And you know, we're socially awkward, we're narcissistic, you know, we're constantly having to be aware of our surroundings. And you know, I once got in a discussion with Vern about wearing shorts versus wearing jeans. You know, well, you're unprofessional if you wear shorts, right? Well, UPS, those guys wear shorts in the summertime. Are they not professional? Not according to your standards, but it's a uniform, so they're professional. Well, should we all be wearing uniforms like the milkman? Professional courtesy is definitely on a major decline. That's for sure. OOIDA has some good info in their education area. Their website, it's basic, but I learned a lot from it. There you go, Alan. That's a good start. That's more than what I did. I wish I'd known that when I started. How do you strap down a load of pipe on a flatbed trailer? I don't know. Just Mark gonna go live and wake up that other guy like I did with CPAP. Well, you saw how well that ended, Daniel. I don't know if I do that. There's no denying pay is systematically suppressed. Yes, Live Like Coach Jake Hill brought that up. My father-in-law was a truck driver, and his income was able to sustain the whole house. Can't do that anymore. You never talk about LTL because I don't know much about LTL. We lie about military service. Yep, some people do. I wear Don Post with black dress pants on a Western shirt or an iPod. An iPod company shirt. Day cab is where it's at, Steve. I don't know. Here's what I found about day cab jobs that would not work for me. I could have gotten the day cab job after 2 years of being out on the road. A friend of mine that was in my same CDLs class, we both went to Transland together. He did that. You start hauling fuel, gasoline, and there was a position open that I could have gotten that was third shift. And he told me how he works these 15-hour days, 14, 15, 16-hour days. And he was home to eat and sleep. That's it. No, working 6 days a week, right? And well, that's why I got out of welding, because I was working 12-hour days with no time for the family and no time to rest, no time to relax. Now, there are high-paying LTL jobs like what Thomas Wilson's in. Yeah, those are worth it. There are benefits. The culture around those jobs is that you're paid well and you're compensated well and you're treated well. However, not all day cab jobs are like that. And I know a couple of people that went that route that came back to OTR. And in some ways, you know, I look at a day cab job as being one step above a factory worker. Your job is always in the balance. Something can always change, right? Thomas, you're in a situation that's really, really good. And if I was in your position in my career, I probably would have never become an owner-operator. However, all the positions similar to what you have, Thomas, in my area, they're hard to get on, and once you're on, you're what they call a substitute driver, right? So you don't have the same route, and you got to be ready to go at a moment's notice until you get your own route. And that could take up a year to 2 years. So, you know, it just depends on the day cab job. I know people that have day cab jobs after coming off the road that are extremely happy, and then I know people that went back to OTR because they weren't happy or the money wasn't good enough. So for me, the balance is I'm not going to be the guy that's going to spend 3 or 4 or 5 weeks out at a time. However, I'll be the guy that's out a week at a time. That's good, right? Be home every weekend, that kind of thing. And that's a good fit for me. Right now I'm at every other weekend to get the extra 2 days of revenue. But when I do go home, it's for 3 days or 4 sometimes. LTL day cab, 115, 120. I have yet to see a job in Springfield, Missouri, Thomas, that paid that well as a day cab LTL. It's like someone asked earlier about Walmart. Well, Walmart, you can make $80,000, $90,000 a year. Dennis Smith, yes, I am still live. I'm going for a marathon live feed. I should go to bed. Shoot, I should go to bed because I got to be up at 4 in the morning. This has been a good discussion. I'm glad you guys are enjoying the morning coffee. We'll end this, right? Before my phone blows up. I don't know. Should I keep this video up? Give me a thumbs up if you want me to keep this video up. James will need something to watch in the morning. Of course, when the videos are this long, I don't go back and watch them. I'm like, well, if I said something stupid, I'll just let it slide. I got 2 people give me a thumbs up. You're welcome, Midnight Rider. Keep it up. People listen while they drive. Yep, Mobile Coach. That's the beauty of YouTube. YouTube's kind of become a podcast in many ways. Except a lot of podcast services, you've got a half an hour, whereas YouTube you can go on for 2 hours if you want. But thanks for watching, guys. I don't know anything. I don't know everything. In the end, you got to do what makes you happy. And if that's running a day cab, cool. If that's running a company truck, cool. If that's, a high dollar lease payment, if you're happy, who cares? As long as you're happy, who cares what other people say, right? And in the end, that's what it's all about. We all just want to be loved and appreciated and be happy. And in the end, that's all you got. Because when you're on your deathbed, what are you going to think about? What are you going to regret? And what are you going to cherish? Think about that for a minute. Anyways. Have a good night. Later.